And we're live! Hello!
Live.
We're here to talk about the Scottish play.
I'm very excited. We're talking about He Who Shall Not Be Named.
So hyped.
It's
We've got lots of thoughts, so
it's our favorite play. It's the best play.
it really is.
It's gonna be great. Let me tweet that we're live.
Yeah.
And then I will retweet it from my own Twitter that we're live.
Oh, and then I'll retweet it from my Twitter.
Oh my goodness, amazing. Show
stopping. Never
been done before.
While we're doing this, how's your reading going for the All Hallows Eve?
It's okay. I technically did all the challenges. I read 3 books, and I'm plus half of Neverwhere, and then I'm like 50 some pages into like this really chunky book that I just like really wanted to read, and I couldn't wait. I was like, don't read that during the readathon, and I was like, but I want to.
Well, I forgot how long Mark of Athena and House of Hades are, so like that was a big yikes from me because they're both almost 600 pages, and I'm like,
I'm reading like a 600 book right now called Plain Bad Heroines. It's like like horror.
I'm gonna try and finish House of Hades, and I got this book from the library.
That's a big energy right there.
I got Anna Dressed in Blood from the library, and I've heard it's bad, but I need to read something horror for this horror.
I too. You read Jekyll and Hyde?
I did.
Okay. Well, I've tweeted out. Yeah. So you want to go? Let's get going.
Yeah. Let's talk about our general thoughts. I think this might be his best play. I mean, I haven't read all of them because that's why we're doing this, but I think it could be his best play. Crazy, I know.
We're doing all of them. I thought we were done.
We said, okay, we'll go to Macbeth and then we'll be done.
We'll reach the pinnacle and then we'll call it a day. Yeah.
And the rest of them don't really matter.
After that, who gives a shit? No, I think it's the best out of what I know, what I've read of him. It's always been my favorite by him. Mm-hmm. I think like there's a reason everyone knows it and everyone likes it. It's one of those things where people want to say like it's not their favorite because it's so popular, and it's like, well, it's popular.
There's a reason it's popular.
No, yeah. I think it's great. I think it's I think some of his plays are hard to read, like not like.
Yeah, but I thought this one is like very readable. It's very like I was gonna start talk about that during the plot, but like it gets started real fast. Like I forgot how quickly it started, and like scene 1, we're hitting the ground running, we're going.
Yeah, I like because when we did both Henry's the Fourths, like they're hard to read. Like if you you have to be doing it as a play to understand it. Yeah. And the Hamlet is kind of hard to read, but this one is so easy and it just moves so fast. Like there's always something happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to let's talk about characters?
Yeah. So the 3 weird sisters, I love them.
Yeah, I think they're really great.
I mean, I think Mara Austin and I gave a show-stopping performance. No, I think they're interesting. They call back on like the idea of the power of 3, and I think it's like, I mean, like they literally created like the image we have in modern culture of like 3 witches around a cauldron came from this play with the Eye of Newt, Toe of Frog.
It's so good. It's so iconic.
And double toil and trouble fire.
I put them in my my play for playwriting.
Yeah. I mean, like they have that song from Hogwarts that slap.
Yeah.
That
double toil and trouble
fire burning cauldron. It's like you can really turn the fuck up to that one.
Exactly.
Hold on.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. But yeah, it lends itself to music so easily.
Yeah. And it's just like such a great image to place in the eye of like people.
It really is. I think and I think it's interesting, like a lot of times Shakespeare plays start with like minor characters who then are never important
Mm-hmm.
ever again. And you're
As
like,
can be seen in Taming of the Shrew, and they just never come back.
yeah, or like it just starts with like some random fucking fool that, and it's like, again, it's like, why? Sorry, I'm posting this in the Discord too to be like, we live. But anyway, yeah, it's like they always start, and then you're like, wait, what was the point of this? Do I need to know this person? But the fact that the
Yeah.
witches are like they're a thread, and then it's also like they are similar to like the three fates that like
Mhm.
control the threads of time kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then it's like in my Shakespeare class I took in was trash, but there were some good discussions to be had. And one of them was the discussion of like, did the witches plan it, or were they just like conduits of prophecy and they didn't want this to happen? But like,
I feel like they were just conduits.
but and then you have to wonder like, does this happen because it was going to happen, or because Macbeth heard them say it and thought, okay, I can make it happen,
Yeah.
kind of
I
thing?
feel like it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg, like that kind of idea of like
Because
it
like,
was always gonna happen, but like
but was it always going to happen because they were always going to tell him this prophecy? Because I
yeah,
doubt. Because like, if they didn't, do you think on his own he's gonna be like, you know what?
we
Like,
should kill a king. That sounds like
and
a really
it's like the idea is
yeah.
made because we don't really know much about who the Macbeths were before the play
Yeah,
started. Like, we know, like, we don't know anything about who Lady Macbeth was. We know that Duncan like really was like into Macbeth, but we don't know their lives, so we don't actually know like what kind of person Macbeth was.
exactly. So we can't like say like, oh well, like before they were like these nice people and like they were chill and stuff. Instead, it's just like, well, we saw him get the prophecy and then immediately start to plot murder. So
I feel like that says he's not a good person.
yeah, no, I agree. Because, you know, how
That's your first. You're like, you're gonna be the king, and again, like, you wouldn't be like, wow, I wonder how that's gonna come about. You're just like, oh, so I should kill my best friend, like,
yeah,
okay.
like how? Where was the progression there, sir?
Yeah, it's just, yeah, no, so interesting.
Yeah,
Obviously, Lady Macbeth is like the most iconic Shakespearean woman there is.
yeah. I mean, like no doubt.
I think
What's interesting also though is the fact that like she rejects womanhood so often that it's like she's almost a masculine character in that sense.
I feel like that was a form of feminism for the era in
Oh,
which
yeah, I agree.
written, was the idea of like, I guess because like so many times in Shakespeare the woman cross dresses to
Mm-hmm.
reject femininity, and in this it was like she emotionally cross dressed. That makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
she will put
She's
on,
like, "Yeah, I don't feel like a woman."
and then when she does like get emotional, then it's like, oh, this crazy woman can't hang, and then you have to wonder, is Shakespeare, was he sexist, or was he like trying to make a commentary on like
Mm-hmm.
how we treat women? Because it's like nobody else seemed to have any emotional remorse for what they were doing in that story. They were just like, well, like Macbeth for like a second is like, maybe we've made a lapse in judgment.
He's like, "Mommy, don't do." And he's like, "This seems good.
He's like, shake it off. Like,
We might as well do this.
and I think,
This
why
might as well happen."
murder? Why not murder? Why not? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and like, I guess she's supposed to kill the guards and she doesn't. Or because she's like, if he hadn't looked so much like my father while he slept, I would durst have done it. And it's
No,
like,
I thought she did kill them.
she's supposed to, she's supposed to kill the king? Is that what she's supposed to kill?
No, he was supposed to kill the king, and then she was like, "Oh my god, you're a failure."
But then she's supposed to kill somebody. Okay, I think he's supposed to do it and he chickens out, and then she goes and is like, fine, I'll do it. But then she can't. She says, if he did not look so much like
Yeah.
my father whilst he sleep, I durst have done it.
And then he like takes the daggers, and she's like, "Oh my god, you're an idiot."
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting marital arguments to be having there.
Yeah.
What do you think of Macduff?
He kind of just like comes in and he's like, "Yo, I had a C-section, so I'm not born of a woman."
I'm not born of a woman.
He's like, "A woman did carry me for most of my birth, but like, I didn't get birthed."
Macduff really came in with that pro-life argument.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like it's a weird play because it's like it doesn't feel like anyone actually wins in the end or anyone's the hero because they're like,
Yeah.
now we're all free from Macbeth's tyranny, and I'm like, from like, who the fuck are you, Macduff?
He
Like,
ruled for like 2 minutes. Like, how could he have been a tyrant?
why are you the word of authority on this now? Like,
Yeah, like, where did you come from?
I was like, hello, like, who are you?
Yeah. And I think Macbeth's an interesting character because we haven't like really talked about, but like because he's so easily swayed to do anything. It's like he's there, and then someone's like, "You should do this," and he's like, "That's a great idea." And then like he thinks about it a little bit himself, and then if like his wife is just like, "You should do it," and he's like, "You're right."
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense. It's like he'll be like, "Oh, we'll proceed in this business no further," and then she just like calls him names, and he's like, "Oh, you're so hot. You're right. Let's do it. Let's go. Let go."
Macbeth was the original simp.
But the fact that like also like these random ass women you meet in the fields are like,
yeah, they're the instrument that like you chose to accept that.
yeah, like the fact that you hear that and to you you're like, Banquo's just like, wow, they be talking crazy, and Macbeth's like, no, I think they spit in.
Well, no, I think what happened also though, like in Macbeth's defense, was
then he became
well, yeah, that the first guy died, and he was like, oh, something happened there.
The one thing then is I would just be like, oh shit, Duncan's gonna die. I wouldn't be like, well,
yeah, I would
better move this process along. Like,
yeah, I'd be like, cool. So like, I'll be king soon.
yeah, I'd be like that. I'd be like, sucks that Duncan's gonna die or whatever if they're such good friends. But I also have to wonder if Macbeth ever even like wanted to be king before this. Like, was that a thing?
Right? Like, did he ever think about it? Like, because obviously, I don't think he would have. Because like, why would he have ever been like, I should be king?
Yeah, he just starts pulling out the Lion King. Oh,
he was just like a lowly duke, whatever he was.
He's the Thane of Glamis.
Yeah.
And then the Thane of Cawdor and King hereafter.
Yeah.
I don't understand how like medieval Scottish.
Yeah, I don't either. That's why I said he was a duke.
Simon said, "What better way to become a king than murder the king?"
Yeah.
A lot of people killed a lot of other people. That is very true. That's a summary. That's a summary of Macbeth.
Yeah, that could be their tagline.
I think. What was I going to say? With Duncan, like obviously he dies really soon, but I don't know. It's like it feels like he exists to be like I don't know, like the story is trying to tell you like being good gets you nothing because Duncan's like we're led to believe this like good honorable king.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
And then like it's like, well,
he's murdered. What you gonna do?
Do you want to talk about the plot?
Yeah. I thought that I thought a lot of the action that happened was like really good, and like everything felt like it was moving the plot forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the plays we've read so far, there have been moments where I'm like, why are we here? What's going on? But like with Macbeth, I felt like everything was like essential, and like as I said, like we got started real fast. We were going. Like people were dying in like scene 2.
And like even at the end, like, you know, it has the big burning wood advance to Dunsinane. Is like it's still interesting. You still get the sense that you're in a battle, even though
you're only seeing like 3 people.
Yeah. Even though like it's Shakespeare, so obviously you can't actually see any of that stuff going on. Because I definitely feel like when we read other ones like Henry IV Part 1 or Hamlet or Julius Caesar, is like the end battle like doesn't work that well because like so much of it is stage directions that don't really work because they had no special effects in Shakespeare.
But also his stage directions are like so brief. But with this, it was like he comes back with Macbeth's head, and you're like, all right.
Like I love that it doesn't say stage left or anything. You're just like, all right, run with it.
Yeah, he's just, you go for it.
I think Macbeth has the iconic 5-act tragedy structure that people use to this day. Like when people think of a 5-act tragedy, it's the way it works in Macbeth, where it's like the inciting. It's literally like a plot chart. The inciting incident, the right action, and then Act 3 is like the climax, and then the falling action, and then the denouement. And I think That's interesting because I do feel like, again, a lot of the other tragedies kind of like meander at times, like you said, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing, Hamlet? Shut up. Like,
It's like, okay, now for my 5th unrequested monologue of the night.
yeah, that's another thing too, is this isn't, oh, sorry, I don't want to jump onto dialogue, but it's not soliloquy heavy like a lot of the tragedies are. Like, obviously people give speeches, but like I feel like that makes it move faster too because other people are talking.
Yeah, I agree, because like I think especially with that, like when there's a lot of soliloquies, it's good to get in the characters' heads, but it's also like, okay, are you gonna do, like, soliloquies feel like you're not really doing anything because you're just hearing like, oh, this is what I think about this, and like obviously it's important to set up things, but like when they're speaking with other people so often, like you just kind of feel like the play is actually moving along.
It sometimes feels to me like soliloquies are almost like the actor doesn't, it's like they're not, I don't know, it's not like they're not acting, but it is a way to like, they just explain their motives, like they don't have to actually like nuance.
It's like, pause. Okay, so like what's going on here?
You're probably wondering how I got here. Like, yeah.
No. Percy Jackson. Yeah, it's like that, like just kind of like a plot dump almost.
No, so yeah, this hasn't had many soliloquies, and I appreciate that about it.
Yeah, it's nice. Do you want to talk about the themes?
Oh yeah, you want to go first?
Ambition is obviously the biggest one.
Oh yeah,
and the corrupting power that ambition has, because.
But Brutus said Caesar was ambitious. Like,
and he's like, you get to be king, and he's like, I want to be king. That's true. Stab, stab.
Yeah, it's almost like, because like in Julius Caesar, they like offer Caesar to be a king 3 times, and 3 times he says no. And then in this, it's like they just say you'll be king eventually, and he's like, I'll be king tomorrow. He's like,
I'm gonna get on that.
You're like, what do you mean eventually? I can hook this up right now. Like,
Duncan's coming here.
Yeah, the fact that they do that too, like they don't even, they're like, yeah, get him to our house, like get that on lockdown.
Yes, they don't even go to him. They're like, come to us and we'll murder you.
I will say a part that is like a little ridiculous is, to me at least, is like where Hecate just shows up. And
yeah.
I'm like, that, we're just throwing Greek mythology into it now. Like these 3, then you're like, are they the 3 fates then? I thought they were witches. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of throwing you for a loop there.
And I guess like, well, that's why like when is like when you read Ocean at the End of the Lane and you're like, but I don't understand the women, like who were they? And I'm like, they're the 3 weird sisters. Like, because it's like that idea, like, well, especially in that, because like they could snip around time. So I guess like the witches are supposed to be the 3 fates, and that's just like how they are perceived then in that era. So that's probably something I would have wished was like more, I don't know, maybe we reference Greek mythology more than that one scene.
Yeah.
That scene where they also just like, it gets really metal and they're like, here's a fucking bloody baby appearing before you. And
yeah, they're like, oh, there's a lot, to unpack there.
That whole scene is like a little all over the place to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think also, like, there's the talk, like, kind of like similar to what we were saying, but like, of like fate and whether or not like this was all preordained or if it happened because of them saying it.
Yeah, it's like, not to keep referencing Caesar, but like in Julius Caesar when he's like, the fate, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. And it's like, the idea is like, again, it's like that idea of like a paradox, like everything happens because you already went back and made it happen. Like in time travel movies where you can't change the past, like future, the present is what it is because you will go back to the past and make it that way. And don't, if you break the circle, then like everything ceases to exist. And so it's like, there's this one movie adaptation, I haven't seen it, but they talked about it in my Shakespeare class, where they said at the end the last shot was Macbeth knocking on the witch's door to show like the power will always corrupt whoever wears the crown. And then the idea is like, I guess then you could also like talk about the theme of like gender, because like Lady Macbeth starts to regret what they've done, I would say, a lot quicker. And her power hunger, I think, makes more sense because like she's a woman, so her power is determined by the power of her husband. But even once he is king, he doesn't stop. He just keeps going. And so it's like the idea of like if you give a man like even the slightest bit of power, he'll just keep going until he's taken all of it. Whereas Lady Macbeth was like, I was just trying to be queen. I just
Yeah, and I think also with her, it's like she wanted to get him that success, but then like the toll it takes to get there is so much greater than you can anticipate.
Well, and also like she's the only one who knows what they've done, like what he's
Yeah.
done to get them there, and he's clearly like not an attentive husband. So she's just walking around with all that. I mean, and then she kills herself, and he's like, "Oh, but about time, honestly." Like,
Yeah, like
obviously a piece of shit husband.
not great.
Like the idea is that's why at the end when it's like, yeah, I know like Macduff wins, but it feels like everyone loses
Oh
because
yeah. Doesn't feel like there's
because
no
it's like, are we supposed to believe that Macduff is just going to come in and be this good, just king? Because we honestly don't even know if Duncan was a good, just king. Like, if you think about it, like the play ends exactly where it began. Like, it ends with someone under the king has just won a bloody battle and brought back people's heads on pikes, and then that's how it ends. And it's like you have to ask, like, well, were the people they were fighting actually wrong? Like, whoever they were fighting at the beginning, where they actually like we're just told this is who we're rooting for. And I also don't know enough about that period of history to know if like I know we did look it up while we watched the movie that the real Macbeth was like a good king for like 17
Yeah.
years.
That's good.
And in the play, it's like it's been a week.
Like, I've been king a week, and now we're gonna die.
And it's like, I think it's time for war.
Yeah. I also want to talk about hand imagery.
No,
I wrote a whole essay about this.
really? About the hands?
Yeah. My thesis was hand imagery plays a large role in showing the actions of people versus what they actually believe. The actions people take affect how subsequent events occur, meaning every action is important. Hands represent a person's inclination to commit acts even if they're not willing to deal with the consequences.
So, like, is this a dagger I see before me? And then, like, out damn spot.
Yeah, so, like, I talked about there's this quote in Act 1, Scene 5, where Lady Macbeth says, "Look like the time, bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it." And it's like, he has to act like he's all cool and everything.
Yeah, there's like one of my favorite lines is like the false face must hide what the false heart doth know. Is like a lot of like just pretend you're good.
Yeah, and then the whole Neptune's all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from his hand, from my hand. Like,
yeah, no,
will my hands ever be clean again? No.
Well, and it's like you cannot. What's that saying? It's like you cannot harm the hand that feeds you, or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
And don't bite the hand that feeds you. Yeah.
Yeah, but like so, like Duncan's the king, and he fucked that up, and then it just only befell him worse, which makes you think then like will not just the same thing happen to Macduff?
Exactly. And like the whole what's done cannot be, like, give me your hand, what's done cannot be undone. Like that was it was kind of like an afterthought that like once she had the stains on her hands, like,
well, when she comes in, she says, "My hands are of your color now."
Yeah, like she like after that happens, she realizes that like this isn't gonna go away. Like you're gonna have to live with this in your mind forever.
That line could also be like tying into the theme of gender too, of her being like, I also helped, like I also did this. I'm as strong as a man. Like how she says in Act 2, Scene 5, where she says, "Unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of dearest cruelty, make thick my blood, stop up the access and passage of remorse." Like, unsex me here. The idea that like that age-old idea that like women are too emotional to like make these decisions. So she's like, then treat me like a man. And so the idea of like he's getting all emotional when they've killed somebody, and she's like, get it together, and then she does it. My hands are of your color now, and so
and like there's just like so many consequences to their actions that they like don't think about prior to it. And like
I think also like just the privilege of the elite is because like they're all already fucking rich. Like he's a thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is fine. Like, what could happen?
Exactly. And it's like, as more characters die, it's like, oh, this isn't going how I pictured it.
This didn't pan out at all.
Yeah, they're like, I didn't think people would reject the idea of us murdering people.
And like, I thought this was gonna...
I'll be fine.
I really thought this was gonna pan out, I have to say.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about fun dialogue?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I wrote down many things.
Oh, I did too. So obviously, I mean, I know the entire opening by heart because I love it so much. The "When shall we three meet again?" and
Yeah, lightning warning and the hurly burly.
In the
battle's lost and won.
That will be ere the set of sun, where the place upon the heath there to meet with Macbeth. I come grey milk and paddock calls anon, fair is foul and foul is fair. Hovers through the fog and I remember in my Shakespeare class, we spent like half of in class analyzing the fair is foul and foul is fair. Not that big a deal, Dr. Harrington. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I have highlighted here in Act 1, Scene 2. For brave Macbeth, well, he deserves that name, disdaining fortune with his brandished steel. Disdaining fortune, except then he like immediately turns around and puts like stock in like fate of something.
Yeah. I have nothing is but what is not. Because, like, that's kind of similar of the idea of, like, everyone's pretending one thing, but, like, underneath they're much different.
Yeah, it's like you can't trust anybody kind of thing.
If chance will have me king, why chance may crown me? You know, we should have just left it at that.
Like, yeah, we should have, what he hath lost, noble Macbeth hath won. And then it's like Duncan says that, and it's like cruelly ironic because he's like saying like what the Thane of Cawdor lost, Macbeth has won, but it's like what Duncan is about to lose, Macbeth will have won. Mm-hmm. And it's like everyone needs to stop hyping Macbeth the fuck up, maybe. Like,
yeah, and like upon my head they placed a fruitless crown and put a barren scepter in my grip, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. It's like he knew he wasn't going to have anyone after him. And he still was like, give it to me right now.
In Act 1, Scene 4, Duncan says, there's no art to find the mind.
Oh my God, that was the one I was going to read next.
The mind's construction in the face. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. Like, it's like he fooled you. You thought you could trust him, and you literally can't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's that, like, it's just repeated over and over, that idea of
he's like this, like the snake in the garden.
The serpent, yeah.
The serpent, you can't trust him.
The iconic.
Where like even Lady Macbeth can't trust him.
Exactly. Tomorrow and tomorrow creeps out a petty face from day to day.
I trust you'll understand.
Another Scottish chance without me having to say
they sing me Macbeth. I remember in the live, one of us typed that. And then somebody else started typing the lyrics, and then David went, "What other Scottish tragedy am I not thinking of?" And we were like, "No, that's from Hamilton about this." And they were like, "Oh, right."
That's, I mean, obviously iconic. Pale thee in the dunnest smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes. Like, he doesn't even want to see him as he stabs him.
Yeah, he's cowardly.
Yeah.
Screw your courage to the sticking place. Like, oof, that always.
Yeah.
Or then they're talking about how they can't have to deal with what they've done. So it says, will I with wine and wassail so convince that memory, the warden of the brain, shall be a fume and the receipt of reason a limbeck only. So she's basically like she's talking about how like she'll drug the people, the guards, so she can do this, like memory, the warden of the brain. But it's like if you just don't fucking like, if you repress what you've done and then you don't feel any remorse, then you can continue going off in a frenzied manner. And since since he represses it, then yeah, memory, the warden of the brain, there is no warden over his brain after that.
Yeah. And then If it were done, then when 'tis done, then 'twere it well that then 'twere it well then it were done well, it were done quickly. Well, I butchered that, but it's fine.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Like, they're like, you just gotta get it over with. Stab him.
I'm like, just do it. The
false face must hide what the false heart doth know.
These deeds must not be thought after these ways, so it will make us mad.
Seems like they didn't do a good job.
Fancy me mad? Madmen know nothing. Like,
Yeah.
methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep, the innocent sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labor's bath. Is like the idea of like, he's like, we killed him in the dead of night. Like he's like, I was so cowardly that like, will I never sleep again? Because I've like done this in the like night is like the dead time of the day. And
yeah,
he's like, I've brought death upon death.
And then also the idea of like blood will have blood. Like there will be like there will be consequences.
I'm looking for
round about the cauldron go.
double toil and trouble by the pricking of
my thumb. Something wicked this way comes. Out damned spot out, I say.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So we have some screen sharing to do for this part.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, so the setup is we watched the 2015 version of Macbeth with Michael Fassbender for our movie of the month. And the way that they did Lady Macbeth was this very different, like, toned down way.
Hold on, sorry.
No, you're fine. And so we had never seen it done like that before. We had always seen it done, like, in the dramatic, like, crazy way. And so when we did our live reading, that's how I read it. So do you want to show how I read it first and show the toned down version?
Sure.
So this is how I did it.
It is an accustomed action with her to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her to continue in this a quarter of an hour.
Yes, there's a spot.
Look, she speaks. I shall set down what comes from her to satisfy my remembrance the more strongly.
Out, damn spot, out, I say. 1, 2, why then 'tis time to do it. Hell is murky, fie, my lord, fie, a soldier and a feared. What need we fear? Who knows it when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have so much blood in him?
Do you like that?
The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What will these hands never be clean? No more of that, Lord, no more of that, you mar with this startling.
Don't you well know what she should not?
She spoke what she should not, I am sure of that. Heaven knows.
Oh, do you want to show the other one now?
Here's the smell.
So I obviously did it like that because I've only ever seen her do it like she's crazy, like that she's just fully out of her head. And I guess when we show women as crazy, that's the only way we know how to do it. But then when we watched the 2015 version, we were pretty shook by how this actress chose to do it. So that's good.
So down to feed. What need we fear? Who knows it? And none can call our power to account. Yet who would have thought the old land to have had so much blood in it? Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What? Will these hands never be clean? No more of that, my lord. Tomorrow, please stop. Yes, this little blood is down. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little heart. Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. To bed. To bed.
So yeah, she did a much more.
I prefer how she did it. I didn't even think to do that because when I've seen movies and when I've seen it live, she is doing it like she's crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, because apparently that's the only way we know how to show a woman being mentally unwell. And yeah, and so I thought that was really interesting. I think that also just says a lot about how we, as a society, like knee-jerk, like show women. It's like, so we read like, oh, Lady Macbeth is suicidal and emotional. So then to directors who are probably usually male, what they hear is like she's all over the place. And again, because I'd never seen her do it any other way, it really didn't occur to me to do it any other way. And then we watched that movie, and I remember we were all like, oh, this is a very muted performance.
Yeah, because usually it's like you think of her going crazy, and you think, yeah, she's gonna be all over the place, kind of like that, like typical idea of like what it means to go crazy.
Yeah,
yeah, and except in this, it's like you can tell she's like really in her head about it, like
yeah, because like in reality, like this is a woman that's literally her contemplating if she's going to commit suicide or not, and it's
and
like
she's also just always under the public eye. She can't just go around like yelling at people.
Yeah, so like in real life,
especially since she's a woman and not like Hamlet.
Yeah, in real life, like people, if you're if you're gonna talk to yourself, that's a more realistic way to do it. Like, no, everything.
There was like a kid there, but yeah.
Yeah, well, but also like, I mean, yeah, like a lot of that, like that's a movie, so obviously it can be more toned down than stage theater. But yeah, I think it's interesting that the whole thing about Lady Macbeth is that she rejects feeling women emotion. So it would make sense that she'd still be trying to like tamp down her emotions even as she's in the midst of like being about to be suicidal. So no, I think that's interesting. I think that gave me a whole new perspective on Out Damn Spot because I've always seen Out Damn Spot portrayed as her doing it how I was, like just all over the place, like practically, and like doing this shit and like practically. I mean, I really
we didn't even see her hands once.
What?
We didn't even see her hands once.
Oh yeah, I'm so committed to. I got that fucking ketchup out. I was like, we're gonna go all out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, Fred, we just saw her face. We didn't.
Do you want to talk about the movie now? Since we just...
Yeah, I thought it was good. They didn't like kind of like what we were saying before, but like it didn't go over the top with anything, so it made it seem a lot more real, which is like what led to us being like, was this an actual thing that happened?
Yeah, and then we Googled it, and it like kind of was, but not really. The aesthetics, I know, has nothing to do with anything, but we did say that so many times.
Beautiful.
We were like, this is great to look at.
You can take like any shot from it and be like, okay, and I'm gonna paint that, and it's gonna go like in the Louvre.
Yeah, it was you, me, and David in every scene. We were just like, breathtaking. No,
yeah. Like they really put a lot of thought into that.
We got like really distracted by like the dress. We were like Googling if it was like period accurate. We were like, oh, very the detail. We were like,
there's also like it just makes me want to like go to Scotland and be on a
movie. I was like, we gotta go hit it. I remember like you were like, he needs to bathe because like they showed him like really dirty from the field. Another thing I thought was interesting is how they showed Lady Macbeth using her powers of persuasion in a more subtle way in this. So he asked, almost subbed, why hast thou left the chamber scene? That she got him to have sex with her while they did that scene, and like that's how they delivered the lines, and like that was her way of it. I thought that was an interesting choice instead of her just being like, fuck you, you coward. Because again, like when we studied that scene in my acting class in college, like we were pretty much told to do it. Like she was just like the shrill housewife yelling at him. And so that movie gave me like I mean, I already loved Lady Macbeth, and have respect for her, but I have always seen her portrayed like as a caricature of like the mad woman.
Mm-hmm.
And to see the movie like make her a person, like a character that you felt sorry for, was I liked it.
Me too. And then also I think like it did a good job humanizing everyone and like making them seem like real people, which is like a weird thing to say, but like.
But sometimes Shakespeare characters, especially because they're so famous, like everyone has heard of them, is they have like this.
They have an image associated with them.
They have, like, yeah, like this cartoony, over the top cultural image that it's like how like everyone knows like the cartoon Green Frankenstein's monster, and then if you were to read the book, it's a whole different thing, and it is like this humanized thing when it's just like a cultural caricature. And so like, yeah, like Lady Macbeth, even with like in theater and literary fandom, is like this historically cultural caricature of like the crazy mad woman with the blood on her hands. And then you watch that movie and it's like, this is just a story, and this is just a person that this happened to, and this is how they reacted like a regular person. I feel like a lot of times in Shakespeare adaptations, and even when you see Shakespeare plays, there's still very much the energy of that person being like, I'm playing a Shakespeare role, where it just felt like a movie about this tragic thing that happened.
Yeah, it did. It just felt like they were telling this story rather than being like, and it's Shakespeare.
Yeah, like it was that shocking thing where it was set during the time it was written.
What a concept.
I know. I remember David and I mentioned this, that like we liked that they weren't in like palaces, because there actually weren't palaces back then. Like they were just in like moderate-sized castles that were the like what a manor would be today. Like just showing that like, again, like it wasn't the same thing as like vast political intrigue at like Versailles would be in the Renaissance. Like that this was basically like, yeah, like Duncan was the king, but it was still essentially like he was just like the mayor. Like that's like the vibe it had. And it's like, wow, Macbeth, you did all this for why? Like and I think that shows why people were then so quick to rally behind Macduff, because they felt so personally betrayed. And
because it's such a small kind of town.
Yeah, and if you're disconnected from royalty, the way like in, stories that take place like later in time and like in the Renaissance and stuff, is then you're going to be mad at the royalty, but you're not going to feel like that was someone you saw out and about. But it like often showed them like in tents and just like in neighborhoods and having like banquets for everybody. And so I don't know how historically accurate that is, but it made it seem like this is a community that Macbeth not only like, killed his friend, but he just betrayed the entire community for his ambition. He betrayed his wife for his ambition, and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, and like kind of like everyone would know, and everyone would like, it's not like this is gonna be like this thing they can push under the rug and be like,
figure it out. It was like not to have that kill all men energy, but like I feel like Macbeth already knew he wanted to do this, and he just wanted someone to validate him, because why the fuck did he write ahead and tell his wife that prophecy? With the first,
wow, this is crazy.
Like, you're never gonna believe it, but they said this, and like I don't know, should I run? And then being like, and now this person's dead, so it's like I don't know, should I run with it? Like,
crazy coincidences.
I think he already knew what he was gonna do.
And he was like, "Can I have some of you telling me that I should do it, so I feel better about my choices?"
That's what I think. It was. Like, I gotta make it like it's like I have, my wife, like she told me to, and like we've all been there when your wife tells you like you have to murder somebody. Like you got.
And it's also like then he can like, in his mind, take some of the blame off of himself and put it on her, because it's like, well, she told me that I should do it. And so I feel like that's also why like she was more upset at the end than he was, like, because I think he could be like, well, it wasn't my fault.
I think another reason that she regretted what they'd done quicker, and also the same reason that she wanted power more, is because she can't have children. And like Macduff says that, and like that's all a woman's purpose was back then, and so she can't.
Oh, the woman is fitful.
Yeah, so she can't do like the thing that she's supposed to do, and then that's like why when they kill Macduff's family, he screams he has no children, and it's like he has no children, and it's like,
how could he ever understand?
Okay, so like that, and then also back then, your children like were your legacy, and that was the point, and like carry out your name. And him saying he has no children is basically him saying like I had a legacy and he took it, so I'll take his. Like, but that also is then also grating on Lady Macbeth, because it's like, does Macbeth care that they don't have children? I don't know, but clearly Lady Macbeth does, because of all the dramatic things she says about it.
Yeah.
And in the out damn spot in the movie, like, she's literally talking to a kid.
A child, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, like childhood, and again, the prophecy. Well, like, and again, one of the witches, like, was younger in the movie. That was another thing interesting about the movie, is the witches were not, like, maniacal. Like, they just seemed like three
They're
witches.
just, like, there, and they're like, here's the prophecy.
They seemed kind of like they didn't, like, they saw the prophecy and were like, oh.
I'm like, this isn't good. We gotta give it, but, like, we don't want
like, oh, God, again. And like, they were like, I didn't really sign up for that.
Yeah, it's not like they saw that it would end in tragedy, and they were like,
they just, like, could tell, I think, that they were like, you know, the ambition of men will end in tragedy, like, and that's the alternate title for the play. The ambition of men will end in tragedy. That's actually most Shakespeare tragedies are the ambition of men will end in tragedy.
Yeah.
No, because again, and that's why I can't remember which one my professor said it was that ends with Macduff going to the witch's door, but the idea was like, this is just a cycle that power creates, is no power will ever be enough power. And yeah, so those are my thoughts. So we want to talk about what we're doing next month?
I was making an acrostic. Most ambition can be ending the something. I don't have a H word.
Wait, oh, ambition can be ending the
Hold on, I can share my screen. Hold on, I can show you.
I was like, what are you doing?
I was writing this down, like, because you said this could be the alternate title, and I was like, well, could we, like, make an acrostic? You'll get to see my notes here.
Okay, wonderful.
Most ambition can be ending
the hierarchy. Men's ambition can be ending the could be ending the I'll have to come back to that.
Yeah, maybe we should do this as a fun exercise at the end. When we finish all the plays, we can make acrostics.
That's a good idea. Okay, now do you want to talk about what we're doing?
Yeah.
So for November, we're going to be reading Pericles. Could not tell you what the fuck it's about. Don't know.
Let's Google. Hold on.
Never read it. I know bare minimum. And then our dates for everything will be up on Twitter later tonight, but we haven't discussed them, so I'm not going to tell you what they are now. And then we are going to be, for our adaptation, we're going to be watching Hold the Phone. Let me get to it.
It's like this random one we found on YouTube, right? Because
we couldn't find any.
Surprisingly, there weren't a plethora
of Pericles adaptations.
Shocking.
Hold on. We're going to be watching the 1984 stage production.
Here is the summary on Goodreads. Pericles tells of a prince who risks his life to win a princess, but discovers that she is in an incestuous relationship with her father and flees to safety. He marries another princess, but she dies giving birth to their daughter. The adventures continue from one disaster to another until the grown-up daughter pulls her father out of despair and the play moves toward a gloriously happy ending.
All right. Solid. Well, that's what we're doing next month. Make sure you check our Twitter and Instagram at @bard_book, where we keep all the updates on when the live reading and movie watch along, in this case, like just play watch along, will be.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Macbeth is a great play.
And Shakespeare was smart.
Shakespeare was indeed smart. We didn't say that today.
What we're saying.
I think it's because it was obvious, because Macbeth is just so good.
Yeah, you didn't know Shakespeare was a pretty smart cookie. But thanks for watching with us.
Thanks for watching and discussing Macbeth with us. If you want to talk to either of us about Shakespeare, hit us up on Twitter.
Bye.